let me ask you this. They called me up here to be Officer of the Year. I'm not Officer of the Year. Excuse me. Did the chief not select me for Officer of the Year? Who are we talking about today? We're talking about, Del Creason, of course. You know, when you think of an ideal officer, Del Creason, comes to mind. Here's a guy, hard worker, dedicated, humble, cares about people. This guy shows up for work every day with a smile on his face, ready to go. My problem with Dale, though, is how do I clone this guy? I want to clone this guy, but he does a tremendous job. And one of these guys that always steps up, no matter what the situation is. He's one of those guys that's just dependable. We call him a lot. He always steps up. We had some flooding up in northeast Denver, and there's a reservoir up there, and it overflowed, and it was torrential rain, and the canals were overflowing, and it was raging water. Dale happened to be up there.
As I'm coming down this street right here, I saw a dog just about where we're standing right here, a little bit farther down on the bank on a rock. You gotta understand, the water at that point was all the way up these banks, so these rocks were completely gone. So I see this dog standing here, and he's got all four legs up on the rock all by himself, and he's shaking as if he's getting ready to jump into the water. Well, as I look down, straight down into the grate, there's a man laying in there with the leash on his arm, stretched out on his face, laying face down. He looks at me and says, "Help me, I need your help." This dog jumps at that point right into the water, goes right to him, jumps right on top of him, and both of them are gone. They get swept underneath the street.
I was there moments before all of this happened, and when I looked at that, it was a torrent, it was a river, and only inches, my recollection from the top, there was literally inches of airspace available. It was truly a very dangerous situation.
And it's pretty dark back in there. I shine a flashlight. I see nothing. A paramedic pulls up and he's like, "What do you have?" And I said, "Well, I just had a gentleman and his dog get swept underneath the street." I said, "I know where it comes out though." Dale
lived up there. He's a Denver native. He grew up there. He knows those culverts. He played through them. I think he probably ran from the police when he was young and used them for that. He hasn't given me the straight answer on that, but he knows where they're going to come out.
So I took him over to 1600 block of Alton in Aurora. Fire department came up from 17th, and I told him, I said, "Well, I'm not going to give up on him." Because at that point, it was only about 5 minutes.
We all responded there, and sure enough, we saw the shoe come out. And
a shoe come floating out, and I said, "Well, I can't promise you that that's his, but it wasn't there before, and I haven't seen anything else come out, so just hold on, we'll hold on." Because back in the day when I ran these tunnels, they're huge in there. You see what it is. They're 8, 10, 12 feet tall through this whole thing. I'm thinking he's gotta be coming. That's gotta be his shoe. Because it was like a water ride. It was coming down through, it was white water, it was rolling. 10 inches to a foot between the water and the top of that. And I just knew, something told me that I'm not gonna give up on him. Fireman looked at me and said, "Well, if we missed him, he's done." And I said, "I know that, but I don't believe we missed him." And he said, "Well, in my opinion, we're gonna wait for the water to go down, and it's gonna be a body rescue. It's gonna be a body recovery." Right to the minute, 17 minutes later, he comes out with a dog under his arm floating, and they snatch him, and they drag him out.
When the dog came out, big fluffy black dog, just the gentleman clinging to him for life, for dear life. We were able to secure the dog, and the gentleman obviously pulled them out of the water, because another 75 yards or so, he would have gone back underground, and I fear the worst at that point.
I started petting the dog was shaking and scared. Well, I see his collar, and I see that he's a service dog. So it started to make sense as to why this dog jumped into him.
This gentleman is blind, and that's a seeing eye dog.
Got up underneath of him, kept him afloat through this whole thing.
Even more heartfelt for me, he rescues the dog too. So they're both okay.
Is Del Creason a hero? Absolutely. Del Creason embodies the word hero, and he was a hero that day. He still is a hero. And
I give the dog credit for this one. Yes, I was here, and yes, I did see him, but if it wasn't for the dog keeping him afloat, who knows? He could have died inside of this thing very, very easily. There's men and women of this police department that do this type of thing every single day, that never get credit for anything remotely like this. So my hat's off to my fellow men and women of the police department.
That's what heroes are made of. That's what Denver police officers are made of, and that's what Dale's made of right there.